Today, we're looking at all the options within JPMorgan Chase's banking pyramid. Whether you're just starting out or someone further in their career, or you sold a business and you're looking for a good endgame solution, there's probably an option for you. Big favor before we dive into everything though is to give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. If you know someone that might benefit, then share this with them. The first level is Chase Sapphire Banking. This is a bare bones account and perfect if you don't want surprises. The monthly service fee is $4.95 or $0 with qualifying activity each statement period. For this account, it's electronic direct deposits totaling $250 or more each statement period. For example, from payroll or government benefit providers. There are some unique benefits that you don't even see of the later accounts. For example, eligible direct deposits may arrive up to 2 business days early. There's also no fees for money orders and cashier checks and no overdraft fees since you can only spend what you have available. At the same time, it's a very no-frills account. Paper checks and wire transfers, both incoming and outgoing, are not available. It mostly depends on you and the features you need. Next up is Chase Total Checking. Fees are higher, but you have more options to get it waived. Here it's $15 per month or $0 with qualifying activity each statement period. You have 3 options. Number 1 is electronic direct deposits totaling $500 or more each statement period. Number 2 is $1,500 minimum daily balance. And number 3 is $5,000 average beginning day balances in qualifying accounts. Unlike the prior level, you don't have early direct deposits, and money orders and cashier checks have fees. This account does have Chase Overdraft Assist, which allows you to go a bit over, but not ideal still. Also, you have access to paper checks and incoming and outgoing wires, but fees do apply. Not a bad standard option. Next up, we have Chase Premier Plus Checking. For a lot of people, this is the sweet spot. The monthly service fee is $25 or $0 with qualifying activity. The most common probably being $15,000 or more as an average beginning day balance for this account and qualifying deposit and investment accounts. That means that the $15,000 can be invested in the market rather than just being dry powder. I'll touch more on investing with the next one, but it's pretty fair. For this level, there's no fees for money orders and cashier checks, but standard fees for wire transfers, both incoming and outgoing. You also have no Chase fees at non-Chase ATMs up to 4 times per statement period. Not the most exciting, but it works for people. Moving up a level, we have Chase Sapphire Banking. This is another sweet spot. Here you have no fees for a lot of everyday banking. Probably less applicable, but an interesting example would be no overdraft fees for up to 4 days a year. Otherwise, it's no fees for a lot of standard banking items like money orders, cashier checks, and wire transfers. Especially in the Bay Area, it's not abnormal to do a lot of small checks into startups, so wire fees can add up. If you travel a lot, one big draw is no ATM fees worldwide. So this is on Chase's end, but they also refund ATM surcharge fees that are charged. To be fair, you can get a version of this with other accounts as well. For example, Schwab Bank's investor checking account. You need a minimum of $100 to fund it, but otherwise no minimum balance requirements. With Chase Sapphire Banking, minimums are a bit tougher. So the monthly service fee is $25 or $0 with qualifying activities, and here you're looking at $75,000 as an average beginning day balance in qualifying checking, savings, and other accounts. Again, investments here do count, and I would just do self-directed. If you're comfortable with online trades, the fee structure is pretty fair. So you have $0 trades for stocks and ETFs, exchange-traded funds. Same thing with mutual funds and T-bills. Options are 65 cents per contract, so less ideal on that front. If you are doing more option stuff, a lot of other platforms have $0 contract fees for equity options and only 50 cents per contract for index options. If you're looking for a new brokerage, Moomoo has a pretty good welcome bonus. You get between $20 and $1,000 in NVIDIA stock, depending on how much you deposit. You also get 8.1% APY on uninvested cash for the first 3 months. There are terms to watch out for. For all the levels, you need to maintain assets for 60 days to get the bonus, but it feels pretty fair. The math isn't bad either. So for level 1, you're getting 20%, and annualized, that's 203%. The other levels are more reasonable, but annualized are still pretty awesome, considering that the long-term average annualized return for the US stock market is about 6 to 10%. Also a reminder that this can be invested, so you're not just holding cash. You could easily make a deposit, invest in a small basket of stocks, let's say 3 to 10 positions, and get the best of both worlds of the equity exposure, but also the welcome bonus. Offer runs until end of the year. I'll leave a link down below if you're curious. The next level up is Chase Private Client Checking. The marginal value is a bit more questionable to me here. You already avoid the ATM fees and wire fees with the prior level, and the main difference here is higher limits for a debit card and also ATM withdrawals, and also Zelle limits being raised is also nice. Outside of that, it's mostly soft benefits. For example, access to their team for banking and lending and business stuff. Maybe I'm alone here, but I generally like looking at multiple sources and doing my own research, so less useful for me, but your mileage may vary. The other perks might be useful, but again, I'd recommend shopping around. For example, auto financing sounds great, but you generally want to shop around. Events might be interesting. These might be for concerts or sports like hockey, but also depends on where you're based. They did used to have something called the Arts and Cultures card, so for SF and a lot of other major cities, you'd get complimentary access to a bunch of places. Back then, this included Cal Academy of Sciences, the Young Museum, Exploratorium, Legion of Honor, Oakland Zoo, and also the SF MoMA. To be fair, this was actually a pretty goated benefit, especially when Cal Academy of Sciences wants to charge almost $60 per adult. Another example was SF MoMA, that was about $30 per person. So that's missed on my end, especially for date nights. At the same time, we ended up just buying memberships for the ones we liked. I feel like this level needs to be reworked and redone and updated. It's not doing enough in today's world. Moving up to the premium levels, we have JPMorgan Private Client. Here it starts to get fancier. You're moving more away from everyday stuff to service-oriented. For example, here you have a dedicated relationship manager. They can also help more strategies if you're less interested in self-directed. Also more events as well, and I'm guessing this will be a big growth lever. The main idea though is that they're going beyond just standard banking and willing to help with a lot of other verticals. A lot of this program is still under wraps. There's currently no fees for this service, but starting in 2026, if you have less than $750K in qualifying balances, they will assess you a fee, and it's going to be a lot higher than other Chase banking products. One other benefit is that you get access to different branches. So for example, there's a flagship one in downtown San Francisco. We've walked by it seems fine and looks pretty normal. I was hoping for more of a lounge or co-working space, but it just feels like a nicer bank. Other people have echoed this as well. You have free coffee and candy, but it's still a bank. Also a reminder that you can still be self-directed here. If I had to guess, they're going to lean more into events. Otherwise, it feels like a bit like a custard where the program still needs to set. Last up is JPMorgan Private Bank. This is their top program. From my understanding, there is a bit of leeway, but the number quoted is 10 million in assets. Sometimes they will take less, let's say 5 million, especially if there's an obvious path upward. It still is a lot of money, but it depends on your situation. Talking to a lot of you guys, it tends to be a lot of business owners or founders who sell their companies. Not necessarily just tech either. For example, private equity has been knocking on doors for a lot of traditional businesses like HVAC. Another group is tech. If you're an AI researcher, the numbers are pretty insane right now. Even for a lot of technical employees, retention bonuses can be pretty absurd. If you're getting headhunted, it could easily be a lot more. On the very top end, you're looking at MBA level contracts, but those are also very specific people. Main idea being that more people qualify than you think. Even on their website, you can get an idea of their target demo, so business owners, execs, lawyers, private equity and VC, and also athletes. The main draw is that they can accommodate based off your needs. For business owners, it might be managing business growth and personal wealth planning. For later stage businesses, planning what it might look like once you take less of an active role. On the other hand, for venture capital, the focus shifts a bit. It might be more around liquidity management and wealth planning, or banking and lending and investment management. It does lean a lot more bespoke, but it definitely can be useful. For example, a friend of a friend just raised their fund too, and the minimum commit on their end is 1 to 2%. For a 50 mil fund, that might be 1 mil. Even if your investments are up, you might not be liquid. Here you might be able to borrow for that GP commit. On the very top end of the customers, it becomes even more bespoke and harder to access opportunities. For example, access to pre-IPO shares, which are normally very hard to get access to. This is being disrupted by newer platforms, but even on those platforms, you're often limited to only 1 to 2 shares versus something sizable. Another example would be sports teams. For example, the Boston Celtics were working with JPMorgan to find buyers and basically batch them up as a syndicate. That's the very top end though. For the normal level, it seems to be more about providing guidance for standard stuff like lending and estate planning. Even for this level down here, they're still super service oriented. For example, someone I know lost their debit card while traveling in Singapore, and they ended up next daying them a new card to their hotel. Your mileage may vary whether these benefits matter. The main cost here is if you decide to have your assets managed by them. Asset under management fee numbers add up, especially when you have more sizable assets. Note that even for this level, you can be self-managed. Some people love doing research while others hand it off and focus on making more money from their business. Outside of the banking and financing side, one of the main draws is access to the JPMorgan Reserve card. It is pretty much a carbon copy of the Chase Sapphire Reserve, plus or minus 1 or 2 perks, so you're not missing too much. Also, in case you're wondering, at the moment, JPMorgan Private Banking is the only way to get the card, while JPMorgan Private Client does not currently have access. But yeah, for most people, if you want 99% of the card, get the Chase Sapphire Reserve. If you are considering the card and you want to run the numbers for your situation and how you value different credits and perks, for example, maybe DoorDash and Peloton down to zero, we do have a calculator on the website. I'll link to it down below as well, but like all cards, it should pop up if you Google card name worth it, ask Sebi. On that note, if you want to learn more about cards and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website, asksebi.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that they make sense, but otherwise it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. And if you're curious, all legal affiliate disclosures can also be found below in the description box. If you made it to this point, leave a custard emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. Number 1, what are your thoughts on the Chase banking levels? Number 2, which one would you go for, and which one is a sweet spot? Lastly, what other perks would you want them to add for each level? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favorite, thumbs up, share this, but otherwise hope you liked it. See you next time.